Nighttime Show with your host, Stephen Kramer Glickman. Tonight, we have head writer Matt Walker. I'm Mike Glazer, your guest announcer and personal love dowel. Our special guest tonight is producer of such incredible films as American History X, Dark City, The Wedding Singer, and Final Destination, Brian Witten. And now, the only relative of Jabba the Hutt that lives in our star system, Stephen Kramer Glickman.
Yeah! Bringing the motherfucking heat! What's up, bro? Great job. You nailed it.
Feeling okay about it.
Wow, man.
Nailed it.
Damn, Mike Glazer, you a bad motherfucker for real.
Oh, come on. Thank you.
Wow, that was very good. That was really impressive. That was great. I'm not going to say it was better than Robbie, but
Well,
it was better than Robbie. But I love Robbie. But no, Robbie's weird in his own way when he does it. He does
I kind of like the weird Robbie.
I'm Robbie. he's like an inflatable person. That guy, I love that guy so much.
Well, that's what when we had him as a Pokemon on the last Nighttime Show. He's like a real life Pokemon.
All right, no, real quick, before we get into this, because we got a lot of surprises today. We got a surprise for Brian. We got a wonderful guest. We got great things happening. Glazer. The other day, I had a fireball moment. Mike, you ever have one of those? You ever have a fireball moment?
crazy stuff happens if you take Fireball.
Oh yeah,
It's real fun.
the world gets better.
Yeah.
Things get crazier.
Yeah.
Matt, you ever have one of these fireball moments?
Yeah, I have. It's
It's a lot
wild.
of fun. Yeah,
It's fun.
You do 2 shots of Fireball whiskey, and then boom, everything changes. Things get better. World heightens. Your senses, everything, man. It's crazy. It's some crazy stuff. The other day, I had it happen. I was over at Boston Market. You know this place, Boston
I love
Market.
Boston Market.
Oh, it's so good, right?
Mhm.
I was
Oh,
over
yeah.
at Boston Market in Burbank.
Nice.
Wandering around, having like a little Boston Market. Sat down, had some of that cornbread. You like that cornbread?
It's the best.
Oh, it's so good.
best.
Nobody makes cornbread as good as Boston Market.
The best.
No, it was so delicious. So I'm sitting there having a pot pie and a little Boston Market, and I decide I'm going to go to use the old restroom, right? And I go over, but it's closed. They say you have to go around back. Okay, I said go around back. So I wander around back behind Boston Market.
Yeah.
I walk.
This is after you had your Fireball?
This is after I'd had some Fireball shots. I go around back behind Boston Market. And I start wandering behind Jamba Juice, a couple of these places. I start seeing a little forest. I go through the trees, and
you're
what do
going
I
out
see?
there.
What do I see?
Huh.
There's a swamp out there. Did you know this? There's a Burbank swamp.
Whoa.
It's a loch, is what they refer to it as.
Yeah.
And I look out there in the water, and guess what I saw? Guess what I saw, buddy?
What?
I saw a Loch Ness monster.
Oh, really?
The Loch Ness Monster.
2 Fireball shots in. I see the Loch Ness monster. I look out there, and I go, "Excuse me, are you the Loch Ness monster?"
Oh, yeah.
Oh my! Wow,
How's it going?
Wow, you're so friendly.
Well, yeah, a lot of people think I'm not, but it's nice to talk to somebody.
It must be so lonely out here, out in the forest of Burbank, in the swamp.
Yeah, nobody comes out here except land developers, but, I always got to hide from them.
Well, you don't have to hide from me, buddy. It sure would be nice to be best friends. You think we could be best friends?
I don't know. What are you doing out here?
Well, I was eating Boston Market for lunch.
Oh, my God, they're cornbread.
Right, the cornbread's so good. And then I had a couple of shots of Fireball whiskey. You ever had any Fireball whiskey?
Oh, man, yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah, well, I get Fireball whiskey all the time. If you want it, we can have some Fireball whiskey moments together.
Oh, man. You mean this?
I do.
You mean this?
I do. And then here's what happened, Matt. We drank that Fireball whiskey together, and then we made sweet love.
Whoa, wow.
Yeah. And
Did you
was-
ever ask the Loch Ness Monster why he wasn't in the Loch Ness?
I just said, guess what? Now we're best friends. And then we were, and we made love.
That's beautiful.
That's a true story.
Are you going to marry him?
Well, we'll see. It's not a him. It's like it sort of. Anyways, the point is that when you drink Fireball whiskey, amazing things happen. So,
Yeah, you met Loch Ness.
I met the Loch Ness. I made love to the Loch Ness monster. And then we shared some Boston Market cornbread, and it was super good. Hey, before we get started, Brian, can you hop on mic?
Hello.
Brian. Brian is our phenomenal sound guy, producer. How are you, buddy?
I'm very well, thank you.
We just heard the great news that you were on Comedy Bang Bang. The people saw you on the Comedy Bang Bang.
Yes, I
That's
appeared
awesome.
in the 3rd and 4th seasons of that show.
Oh my God, amazing, man. Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you.
Okay, so me and Matt were having a real
sounds very
conversation.
skeptical
Yeah, no,
at this
I know.
point.
This is skeptical. Is it true that you are in a relationship or are you single?
I'm single.
See, I told you.
You're right. Okay. I was wrong. I thought he had a
Fucking
girlfriend.
told you, Matt.
I
told you.
I thought he had a girlfriend.
Hi,
What do I
Rita.
know?
How are you? Rita, the woman who runs this phenomenal. Will you say hi for 1 second? Just say a quick hi to everybody.
Hi, sexy motherfucker.
Yes. Oh, Rita.
Sorry if I just cockblocked. Oh, is that Glazer?
Hi.
He just
Yeah.
quit his job here
I know.
because he's going on to huge things.
He's amazing talent.
He's catapulting out.
I know.
He's
we love
great.
this guy.
It was
the
all
best
'cause
part of
this
my job.
place.
No, we love you, Glazer.
Love
I
you.
just need a fucking box of donuts, glazed donuts. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt. Love you guys.
I love you, Rita,
Thank you,
so
Rita.
much. She's the greatest there ever was.
Okay, so I was
Or there
wrong.
ever will be. Yeah, I told you. All right, so here's the deal, buddy boy. Here's the deal, Brian. I have a lady I want to hook you up with. She's a very attractive lady, and we were talking the other day, and I want to hook you up. Is that possible? Would you let me hook you up with a lady?
Sight unseen, yeah.
I'm going to show you a
Nice.
picture. Hang on, I'm going to show you a picture,
That's good trust.
and then I'm going to do this right now. While
I'm flattered, by the way. I thought you had teed me up before, like, I'm going to ask you a question on the air. I'm going to save it for when you're on the air. And
Yeah.
He thought it was
going to
go terribly wrong. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna here, guys. This is a real thing that's really happening right now. I'm gonna go over and show him this picture. You tell me if this is someone you would go out with on a date. All right, we're waiting. Here we go.
Yeah.
Would you go out with her?
Certainly.
All right, we're gonna call her right now, and I'm gonna tell her, and let's pause.
What's her name?
Her name
Can you-
is.
she has
Wait,
one.
hang on. Let's pause the show real quick. Can we pause it?
Surely.
Okay, we're gonna get this thing figured out with our lady friend here. We're gonna try to call her. We tried to call her. She didn't answer the phone. We're gonna wait for her to call back. See if something happens here. But right now we have a guest here in studio. I am so excited about this. I've been trying to get you to come do this show for a while, but to your credit, you've always said you would come do it. But timing is everything, especially in your business. You're working all the time. You're always kicking so much ass. People may know some of the movies that you've produced on and worked on. American History X. The Wedding Singer, Dark City, so many other phenomenal, Final Destination, so many other great movies. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Brian Witten in the room. Yes!
Thank you.
Hi,
Thank
buddy.
you.
How are you?
Well, good to see you.
Oh, man.
And
So
everyone
cool.
else.
So cool that you're here.
Phenomenal you're here.
What's happening with you right now in your life? What's going on with you right now?
Right.
Like, what was today? What was today like for you?
Today, with my partner Jeff Krelitz, who owns Heavy Metal. You know the magazine Heavy Metal.
Of course. Such a badass magazine.
Great magazine, and I grew up on it. Like in particular, I grew up on loving comic books. But what was great about Heavy Metal was that it had a lot of, let's be honest, like
Boobs.
boobs. Yeah.
Remember jerking off.
And violence. So when I would go to the comic book store, I could buy all my Marvel and DC stuff, but my parents wouldn't really pay attention to Heavy Metal. So there's a lot of pussy, you know.
Yeah.
I liked it.
It's great.
It was great.
It's such a great. You guys had the best booth at Comic-Con too, and so do you co-own the company?
No.
Or you
My buddy Jeff does. I'm the president.
You're the president of the company. Oh my god,
I mean,
that's
in
amazing.
the movie Heavy Metal, the movie from back in the 70s, whenever that was, like when I saw that, I was about 19, like a sophomore in college or whatever, and it was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I was like,
And were
I
you
was like,
sober?
yeah.
You
Oh,
were.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
for you.
I didn't start drinking until I was 21, so I was
Oh,
totally
okay.
sober when I saw it. But it was like, I was like, this is such a cool movie. And it's like because you don't think of animated movies when you're an adult as being things that aren't just for kids, especially at that
true.
time. Because, this came out in the 70s when the movie was released, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like 79,
Something like that,
81?
yeah.
Such
So, I mean,
such a
at that era, it was like an animated movie would be, Pinocchio or whatever. It was like a whole,
Right.
it was like a different thing.
Now, was Kevin
And
Eastman
had-
involved in the film, or was he involved in any of that?
No, that was before he.
That was before he got
Bought it,
involved. Yeah, that's so badass.
But we had today. We just had meetings on heavy metal and met with a studio about doing an animated series and other things pertaining to it. So
God, that would make so much sense to do that right now. That's with this culture right now. The way that people are, people are so into cartoons, and grown ups are like so. I mean, Sausage Party is like
it's
killing
great.
it right now.
Did you guys see that?
Oh my God, it's so funny. You haven't seen it yet?
I haven't seen it. I watched heavy metal again. I was like,
Dude, it's you were watching heavy metal the whole time.
It was
No, it's great.
hysterical.
It was hilarious.
I was a good dad. I took my 16-year-old son to see Sausage Party.
Oh, that's such a good move.
Yeah, right.
That's badass. Do you have other kids too, or do you have only one kid?
Yeah, I have my oldest son, Jonathan, is 16, and then Goldie is 13, and then Leo is 12.
Wow.
And I'm a bad dad because I'll take them to any movie and whatever. I'm the opposite of my dad.
No, that's great. That's
Though my dad did take me to see Alien when I was 14, which was awesome.
That's great. That's a great movie. I got to see Pulp Fiction when it came out in the theater, and I was young. I was like 11 or 12.
You can't have been that young.
I was pretty young.
I saw Pulp Fiction. I was in college. Pulp Fiction came out in 1994.
94. Are you sure it came out in 94?
Yes,
Are you positive?
because Reservoir Dogs came out in 91.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. If it was 94, then I was 15 years old. I was so immature though. I had no idea what was
Still
going on.
at 15 to see Pulp Fiction?
yeah.
He was pretty gnarly at 15.
Yeah,
Like,
I
was
saw Pulp
freaked
Fiction
out.
in the theater when it came out, opening weekend, and laughed my ass off and disturbed everyone else in the theater because they had just saw like Siskel and Ebert say, "Oh, this is a great movie, everybody should see it," and they didn't know what they were getting into. But I'd seen Reservoir Dogs, and that was the only videotape I owned at the time. I was in college. I had one videotape. I watched Reservoir Dogs at least once a week for like a year and a half because there was no channels I could get on TV.
Yeah.
And I used to know the entire movie by heart. So I'm like, Pulp Fiction, next movie by Tarantino, go see it.
Yeah.
Laugh my ass off. Everyone else is getting disturbed because I'm laughing. And my favorite part was when he says, "Oh man, I just shot Marvin in the face." I start laughing. People got so upset they got up and left.
Really?
Yes.
Holy shit.
I walked an audience before I ever did comedy.
Yes. Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so great. I love that movie. That was
great.
Such a
Yeah.
great movie.
So cool.
But I love that you saw that at 15.
I saw it at 15, and you know what else? I saw when I saw Paranormal Activity, the first one, which is how you and I met. We met through Oren
Pele.
Pele, yeah,
Yep.
who directed
Oren Pele.
Yeah, he directed those movies, right?
The first one he directed.
Yeah, so I went to the first one, and when I watched the first one, when it ended and they showed a little like this footage was recovered and there's no credits, I laughed so hard in the theater. I was like, this is fucking genius. Genius. I was so happy. Like, I couldn't tell you how happy I was. I was like, they committed. They really committed. They didn't go like, and now here's the music and the credits at the end. They didn't make anyone feel safe. The whole room was like freaked out. It was so wonderful. It made me so happy.
Yeah, the first one was really good.
Yeah,
It was great.
It was a really great movie.
I remember I didn't see it in the theater, but I had just got divorced, so I went from my house, like big 4-bedroom house, into a apartment, 2-bedroom apartment that was comparatively small, but so I was the only reason I'm saying size is because it scared that movie scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So someone gave me the.
Oh, wait, hang on. Is that her?
Activity.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I love the ringtone, by the way.
We're trying
Great
to do a little hookup here. Answer.
All right.
Hey, Mindy, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm really good, Mindy. Hey, listen, you're live on the air right now. I hope that's okay. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. I didn't hear what you said. I'm on the air.
I said you're live on the air right now. We're recording.
I love that.
We're recording the nighttime show, the podcast, and there is a lovely, very handsome gentleman that we work with here, and you and I spoke the other day, and I was telling you there's a guy that I know that I think you would really enjoy, and I'd love to make a little introduction. Is that okay?
Oh, sounds great. It's very difficult to hear you, though.
Okay, well, can you hear me now? Is this kind of worked? You can kind of hear me now?
Yep.
All right, well, Mindy, I want to make an introduction for you to meet Brian. Brian is our sound guy and producer on the nighttime show.
Hi, Brian.
Oh, hello, Mindy. Hi, it's a pleasure
I
to
hear
meet you.
just fine. I love your voice.
Oh.
Hello.
Now, Mindy, Brian is a very funny guy. He produces a stand-up show. He works on a stand-up show sometimes here at the Hollywood Improv. But aside from that, he works on a TV show called Comedy Bang Bang, which is on IFC. It's a very good show.
Of course, I've heard of that.
Yeah. Mindy, we're gonna tell Brian. Brian, will you tell her a couple things about yourself real quick on the air? Where are you? Where are you from, Brian?
Well, I'm a California native, born in Thousand Oaks, California. This is weird to me that I'm having to do this. I'm at work right now.
Brian, you're very handsome. You have a very nice beard,
Brian.
and I really enjoy you, Brian. And I really enjoy Mindy, and I just thought you guys would really enjoy each other and have a nice time and get a.
That's so nice. Are you inviting me to the nighttime show? Is this going to be a date?
It could be.
Brian,
What do
pull
you
that
think,
trigger.
Brian? Come on, Brian, pull the fucking trigger.
Yeah, no, you know what? I would go on a date with you without a doubt, especially since Steven speaks so highly of you, and you seem like a sweet person.
Oh, thank you. The same to you.
Is that something you would consider, Mindy, going on a date with our dear friend Brian?
Sure, I would take your recommendation with the highest confidence.
There we go. We did it. We did it. All right, Mindy, I'll call you back later, and I'll set you two sweethearts up. Mindy, real quick before you get off the line, tell us about your app that you have coming out. Mindy created an app that's an amazing app, by the way.
Oh.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be able to talk about this on the air, though.
Okay, well, if you're not, you can tell Brian over a glass of
I'll tell you in
Chardonnay.
private. Maybe next time I'll be able to tell you.
There we
But it's
go.
very exciting. There's lots of exciting advancements happening.
Well, she's very cool. Mindy's super cool. I think you're going to really enjoy hanging out. Thanks, Mindy. You're the best. And Olive
right, you're
Garden,
the best.
Olive Garden on us. We're going to pay for Olive Garden for the two of you for dinner. How about that?
Oh,
There
you
we
can
go.
eat.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
Nice meeting you, Mindy.
Bye, Mindy.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, you didn't have to sweeten the deal with Olive Garden.
Yeah, there we go.
That's-
Unlimited breadsticks.
Cherry on top.
Great garlic bread, apparently.
That's a terrific garlic
yeah.
bread.
maybe
Brian,
next time.
I only did that because I adore you, and I was talking to this girl the other day, and she's like, I can't find like a nice guy who like that. I was like, I
And
know
then-
a great guy.
Next time we do the podcast, Brian can come in and talk all about that comedy Bang Bang.
Boom.
There you go.
Also, that was the
God.
most millennial hookup that I've ever been a
No
part
joke.
of in my life. That's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Tinder be damned. That was crazy.
A nighttime show hooks
Steven's
people
a
up.
matchmaker.
I hooked you up, Ryan.
did.
Did
Very
I not
lovely.
hook you up
Yeah.
with a very, very lovely girl?
Lovely. She
Yes.
was very lovely.
Yeah. I said to you, I said, what do you think of this girl? You said, she's very attractive.
Comic-Con last year. It
Yep.
was
And I
great.
went to her. I said, what do you think of this guy? And I paired them up. They had a very nice
We had
time
to be
together.
careful because she was there. Can we talk about
Yeah,
that?
she was on it. We don't have to say her name, but she was there on a date with a guy.
But the guy was a douchebag.
Oh, he was such a fucking douchebag.
douchey, like douchey and douchebag in Sausage Party.
Yeah.
Total douchebag. And so then we kept hanging out all night. I mean, with Steven and
Yeah.
the douchebag and her. And he would disappear, and then I could go over and talk to her because
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to be seen next to her because it was causing problem.
Oh, so
was
he
so
could sense
great.
it too.
I was
Nice.
trying to be. I was sensitive to it.
Yeah, by the end of the night, it was over. Like
Yeah.
their thing was over, and Brian was.
We were texting while they were on their date.
Ah,
That's great.
It's never a good sign.
No,
well,
for one
it was
person.
for him.
Well, I'm just saying that's
For
a
me.
sign of a date going bad. If the girl's texting the whole time, it's a bad sign.
I love it.
not
I
going
love
well.
it. Thanks for playing around with us, Brian, and letting that happen.
Oh no! Thank you, Steven. That was a nice view. It was flattering, and I will.
She's a gorgeous, very gorgeous girl.
she liked your voice. Too.
I don't doubt it. Yeah. Well.
Maybe we should unplug the phone just in case my mom calls.
Certainly.
All right, Brian, back to you, Brian
Yeah, we're
Witten.
like, hey,
Let's-
Brian, do you want to go on a date with Steven's mom?
Yeah, there we go. That's the next phone call. Brian Witten, let's get back to this. How did you get started in this business? Because you've been in this business for a while.
I'm old. Yes.
Well, how did it get started? Where did you come from? Where were you born?
Well, I grew up in New Jersey, Maplewood, New Jersey. But I believe it or not, back in high school, we had a film class, and so I got into film from that. And I remember we watched The Duelist, which was Ridley Scott's first movie, and it was fucking awesome. And even back then, as like whatever I was, 14, whatever, you could tell like the cinematography and everything was amazing, and it was all handheld. And so I got into it from film class, and then I would make movies, and I loved horror movies. Like I grew up on, like Friday the 13th and the slasher movies. And American Werewolf in London, for some reason, just stuck with me. Like, I loved The Dream Within a Dream. I hadn't seen that when I was like 14.
Yeah.
And so I remember in film class, I made a short film where my best friend was stalking my brother and his friend and trying to kill them, and it was a dream within a dream. But,
Wow.
So, on Super 8, because that's what we had when I was that age.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that.
But then, so loved film, and then I was going to go to a law school because I figured that's what you do. You go to study law, and
right, of course.
right,
sure.
Grew up in New Jersey. That's what you do.
Yeah, I get that.
And then my friend was going to Syracuse for film, and I was like, "What? You could go to school for film? That's great."
Yeah.
And so my parents, who were not into that idea at all, were like, "No, you need to go get a degree. Blah blah. Film, unrealistic. Blah blah blah." So I went to a school for not even the school in Bentley. It was called Bentley in Waltham, Mass, to study law, and I hated it. I fucking hated all the classes. I hated everything, and I just wanted to transfer to film. And my parents thought it was unrealistic, but with the help of my cousins and relatives, they were like, "You got to let your kid go do what he wants to do." And ultimately, I went to NYU for film and studied and. Again, I was like, not again, but I was the outsider because they all wanted to make these pretentious movies.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to make movies that scared the fucking shit out of
Popcorn
people.
movies.
Yeah.
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 And they wanted to tell stories about their repressed childhood and coming out and whatever it was.
Terrible one-man shows.
Whatever, yes.
Right.
And
How many movies about AIDS can we take?
But so...
Real nice, Matt.
Yeah.
Way
You
to
brought it
stop.
down,
way
Matt.
to bring it down.
By the way, we didn't have AIDS.
Three movies, Matt. That's how many movies you can make.
Not to keep belittling my age, but back then there was no AIDS, so...
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You could just fuck all you wanted with anything and just
Wow.
worry about like
God.
whatever
Time.
crabs or
You went to NYU.
I wasn't getting laid though. By the way,
You went to NYU in the 1940s? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
No, I'm just kidding.
I was reading comic books. I wasn't getting
It's
laid.
theoretical
Fuck yeah.
in
Yeah,
this
yeah,
case, but
yeah.
amazing.
But in any case, I loved this movie RoboCop, the first movie,
Oh, so good.
and I was wasn't it great?
Amazing. Amazing.
I forgot
one of our podcast guests was in RoboCop.
Yep. We had Bill Farmer on the show.
Oh,
who was
yeah.
in where he played the reporter.
the reporter.
One of the reporters. Yeah, who like did a speech or whatever.
But I remember seeing that in the theater where at the end when he goes, "Nice shooting, son. What's your name?" and he says, "Murphy," whatever. The audience stood up and applauded, which even back then I had that was like unique. There was something special about that movie where an audience would applaud like so big. It was great.
Yeah.
But so I realized I wanted to get into producing because I went there to direct, and so I just called the producer, John Davison. He produced it in a studio named Orion Pictures had made it. And I just called the switchboard. Switchboard gave me his phone number, called his phone number at his office, and we just started chatting. And it so happened he grew up in New Jersey, went to in a neighboring town of mine. He went to NYU, and he and Joe Dante, who had done Gremlins at the time, and Mike Fennell, who had produced Gremlins, they all went to NYU together. And I had reached out to John, and ultimately we just had this rapport. And he said, "Look, come out when you come out to LA, and I'll meet you, and I'll hook you up with Joe Dante and Mike Fennell." And so I graduated at NYU, and then went out and met with him, and we hit it off. He was developing RoboCop 2 at the time.
Oh my God.
And we hung out there and we talked about comic books, and I told him about this comic I loved called Deathlock. I don't know if any of you read it, but it was about a man and machine, which is kind of RoboCop-ian, if that's a word.
Right, sure.
Absolutely.
It is now.
Yeah.
But am I telling too many details?
No, please. This is fucking fantastic.
So we hit it off, but it was during the writer's strike. So then he hooked me up with Joe Dante and Mike Fennell, and Joe was directing The Burbs. So I went and hung out like on the Universal backlot while they were shooting it with Tom Hanks, and Bruce Dern was there, and this is how naive I was. We were talking before about women, but Bruce is like, "Oh, how old are you?" And I don't remember. I was 20, whatever. And he goes, "Oh, I have a daughter your age. You should meet her." Like, I just met him. You seem like a nice kid. And I didn't realize how hot his daughter was.
Laura Dern.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
but I never. Anyway, nothing ever happened. But I.
Oh my God.
But it was just amazing. So I hit it off with them, and they said, "Look, we can help you get a job, but you can't do it from Jersey. You have to come out here."
Yeah.
So that was like in October of whatever it was. I then moved out in the following February, and then I would go hang out with John at his office, and it was during the writer's strike, so no one was hiring.
Right.
So and it so happened my best friend was in Long Beach. So all we would do is get stoned and go to the beach, and my parents paid for it, so it was kind of fun, right? I'd never been out of the state as a kid. But then, anyway, ultimately, I PA'd on a movie, and which was called The Horror Show that Sean Cunningham, who I loved, Friday the 13th, was the producer of.
Yeah.
And then later in life, I worked with him on Friday the 13th, Freddy versus Jason, when I was at New Line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I worked for John Davison on Robocop 2 when the strike was over. And we had hired Frank Miller, who was one of my icons as a comic book writer artist.
Oh my God, so cool.
Which was great. And then
what did you do with it? What did you hire him to do?
So he wrote Robocop.
Amazing.
Robocop 2. Robocop 2.
Right, yeah.
Which was amazing. So I worked for John for like 2 years and we shot in Houston, which was a great experience and fun. You know, as a kid from Jersey, and now I was proving my parents wrong. But
like in your head the whole time, you're just picturing everyone else back home studying law, and you're like, oh, like,
yeah, or
goodness.
exactly. And here I am having fun, like taking dolly tracks off the street before the sun comes up because we have to get off the street or there's penalties. And it was literally everyone would just. It wasn't. Later in my career, everyone was just all working for the better good of the movie. It didn't matter who you were. Even John, the producer, was helping to do things. Mm-hmm. Later in life, you realize, not later, I was never like that, but there were jobs and you did your job and you didn't really, whatever. But
right, yeah.
But it was a great learning experience and it was awesome. But John, but John was like a mom and pop guy who made one movie and then would try to get another movie, but the studio would only pay for him when they were doing something. So I didn't have a job. But anyway, while we were doing RoboCop, I had a RoboCop 2. I loved this director named Stephen Hopkins. He had directed a very cool Australian movie, which I can't remember the name of it was, but it was kids that are in they break into a department store and they stay there overnight to get laid and have fun and drink, and they don't realize there's a security guard there that's insane and they can't get out.
Oh, my God.
So Stephen went on to direct one of the Nightmare on Elm Streets.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved him as a director. I was John's assistant, but he didn't treat me as an assistant.
Sure.
So I kept pushing for Stephen to direct RoboCop 2, and I became friends with his agent. So then when everything was rolling down on RoboCop 2, Stephen now was directing Predator 2. I needed a job.
Shit.
I had always idolized Joel Silver, thought his movies were amazing. And so Hollywood is about relationships.
Yeah, totally.
It so happened that Stephen was doing Predator 2. The agent, Lloyd Seagan, was still my friend. And I said, I need a job. And he said, well, guess what? Joel Silver's partner, Michael Levy, needs an assistant. Why don't I hook you guys, connect, whatever. So it was, also too. And also the editor of Predator 2 was this guy, Mark Goldblatt, who's a phenomenal editor. He's edited like Terminator 2, a bunch of Jim Cameron movies. Oh my God. But he had done RoboCop. So they both were whispering in Michael Levy's ear, you should meet with this guy, Brian. So I went and I remember meeting with Michael on the set of Predator 2, where there's some big explosion scene where the Predator at the end, where there's a crater and whatever, downtown LA. And so I'm walking with this guy who's the complete opposite of John. John was this like mom and pop nice guy. Mm-hmm. And like I was his assistant, but I didn't answer his phone. I didn't run errands for him. He treated me more of a creative guy.
Right.
So Michael's walking with me in he's like Lurch from Addams Family.
Right, yeah.
And he's very manic, and we're walking around the perimeter of the set, and he's like, so you're used to this and this, you could be yelled at, you could be screamed at and things and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, sure, which I had never,
None of that ever happened.
Right, yeah.
But I just lied and said yes, and then I went to work for Michael, and again, am I telling too?
Mm-mm.
So Michael what I didn't know is you as an assistant, you kind of lie. Like,
Yeah.
So, but I was so naive, like I couldn't, Michael was frantic. And so there was so much going on. He would say, well, did you send the bottle of Niagara to Steven? And Niagara water, that is, because,
Right.
and I had forgotten, and I would go, oh, I forgot. And he would scream at me. So I had 2 tours of duty with Michael. The second tour of duty, he fired me, and then I came back. I would lie and go, oh, yeah, I sent Steven the bottle of Niagara, and then I would go and do it. But I didn't realize that when I worked for him. So I worked for him for like 5, and he's like at a swimming with. Do you ever see Swimming with Sharks?
Yeah, of course.
So like my buddy George Wang directed it, and we both were assistants at Silver Pictures, and Michael was like that guy. And Michael would throw things. Anyway, so I lasted 5 months, came back, I worked for Michael, and he would throw things at me and scream at me, and like it was just crazy.
Oh my God.
It was like out of Swimming with Sharks.
Yeah.
And like I remember he loved bagels with, he wanted a bagel with cheese. Now he's a Jew, I'm a Jew. If someone says a bagel with cheese, bagel with cream cheese.
Yeah, bagel with cream cheese.
So
Yeah.
I go, right? I toast the bagel, I come back, and I give him the bagel with cream cheese, and he's like, I didn't ask for that. I want a bagel with cheese. I wanted cheese. This is cream cheese. He takes the fucking bagel, rips it in half, and throws it at me.
Amazing.
It hits my shirt and hangs there on my shirt, stuck. And I'm looking at him, and I'm being.
It's like you played ring toss with your nipple.
Right? And I'm looking down at my shirt, and the bagel falls, and I go, what the fuck? And he goes, I asked for it with cheese. I didn't want cream cheese. I wanted melted cheese. And then I left and made him this fucking thing. But in any case, I took a lot of shit from him.
Do you know who Shelley Berman is?
No, but that name sounds familiar.
Is that who it
The
is?
comic.
The comedian who played Larry David's father on Curb.
Yeah.
Is that right? I got the right name?
Yes.
So my first job ever in the entertainment business was being his assistant at La Jolla Playhouse in San Diego for a play. And they said to me, whatever you do, anything he needs, you handle it. Don't let anybody else. And I was like 15, 16. I was young. I was a young guy. I was about 16. And they were like, whatever you do, don't let any of the women handle stuff for him. You handle everything. Don't let the other the PAs or whatever handle it. I go, yeah, no problem, whatever. And he turned to me and he was like, can you do me a favor? Can you go and get me? He was old then. He's always been old. He goes, can you do me a favor? Can you get me a nice cup of coffee with sugar and some milk in it, maybe a little bit? And I was like, yeah, no problem. And I go over and I go to one of the women. I go, hey, I need to get a cup of coffee for Shelley, and it has to have sugar in it and a little bit of milk. And she goes, okay. And she puts like a bunch of sugar, and then she puts milk. She hands it to me. I walk over to him. I go, here you go. And he goes, he drinks it. He goes, what is this? What kind of fucking shit is this? What did you put in this? I go, well, I asked this lady, and he goes, who did this? I'm like, I asked this lady to help me because I didn't know how to do it right. I had never used those young guy. I didn't even use the coffee machine like that before. And he goes, who did it? I go, I think Lisa did it. He goes, Lisa, come over here. Lisa comes over. She goes, yes, can I help you? And he threw the coffee at her. Hot coffee. Threw it at her fucking body. Went all over. She screamed, runs out. He goes, these fucking people, these stupid women, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. I can't work with these people. And he stormed off. And I was apologizing. He's like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. These stupid women. And I was like, oh my God. And I literally learned like afterwards that like, he hates women. Like he's the most anti-feminine woman guy. Like the guy just hates ladies. He won't deal with them. He won't speak to them. Like
that's crazy.
Yeah, he's gnarly. Yeah. I was a shitty PA. I worked as a PA on one time. It was on a TV show called Chocolate News.
Oh yeah.
David Allen Greer. I like
David Allen Greer. And it was, they put that show on the air to kind of help President Obama get elected the first time. Cause he like every like show would be talking about Obama and how he should be elected and stuff. And, on my like third day, they asked me to bring to go get sandwiches for the producers, and I went and bought the sandwiches, and I ate 2 of the sandwiches on the way back to the set. And the producers were like, where do the sandwiches go? And I was like, I ate them in the car. And they were like, you need to go home. And they fucking fired me and sent me home. I got fired like second day.
They should know better than to send you on a food run.
Yeah, come on.
Like you get hungry on your way.
Were they good?
They were great sandwiches.
There you go.
Come on.
So it was worth it.
It was. They were from Cantor's. They were very nice sandwiches.
Nice.
Come on. Come on, am I going to eat a couple sandwiches?
Yeah.
Give me a break. So how did you go from being I guess
Assistant thing.
like an assistant to rising up to where you've run like basically, right? Like kind of
I was
run
the
studios.
Executive vice president.
Yeah, that's like insane.
But, yeah.
How does that happen?
So from Joel, then I became Joel's assistant, and I was into the Hong Kong movies before anyone else, like John Woo and Chow Yun-fat and Jet Li, and
I used to watch all those Jackie Chan movies. I had a roommate from Hong Kong, and he'd get them on Laserdisc.
Yes.
And he'd bring them back to the U.S., and I saw, like, Drunken Master 2 out here back when it was called something different. Well, I think they called it Drunken Master here, but it was Drunken Master 2, and everything's just subtitled, or like Thunderbolt and movies like
that was great.
That are great, and I got to see all these things like on Laserdisc years before they came out on, like, he's like a feeble old man by the time they came out here in the U.S. where he can't do this stuff anymore. But
my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, those are great.
Did you ever see like Police Story 2?
Of course.
Yeah, right?
Police Story 1, Police Story 2, 3, and 4.
It was great.
All of them.
Or Operation Condor.
Operation Condor, love that movie, and Condor 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, he got all those, and he brought
They
over...
were awesome.
Yeah, those are great movies.
Pat Labor, we watched all of, too, like this weird anime that was about robots fighting crime. And
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember when we were doing...
I didn't get laid in college. Is what I'm saying.
All you had was that and whatever that and what was it? Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir
You had, like,
Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs.
Well, I didn't have those. See, he had all those on Laserdisc, but then we had to go to our friend's house who had the Laserdisc player, so we couldn't watch the Laserdiscs at our place.
Oh, sure.
And our friend's house is where we had our weekly Friday night Dungeons and Dragons game,
Nice.
which we played every Friday night when I was 21 years old.
You know what? Just to drive it home, when laser discs were out and like a thing, that's right when my parents got divorced, and my dad said if my son can't learn how to use the Laserdisc player, I'm taking it back. And I tried to learn how to use it for like a week straight, and I couldn't figure out how to make. I couldn't get the connection to run to the TV. And then he fucking came and picked up the Laserdisc player. Such a bastard! And he took my Star Wars Laserdisc and everything. He's such a fucking asshole. The worst father.
Terrible.
He's on line one. I
would never do that.
Hey,
with my kids.
you on line one, you piece of shit. No, it's all right. So, anyways, all right. So you're working on the John Woo movies and working on this.
So no, I just got Joel into John Woo and stuff. But,
Got it.
But so then I became at the time friends with Rob Liefeld, who had just left Marvel and was at Image Comics, and he was like 22. And it was a big thing back then. I mean, when they all left, it was him, Todd McFarlane. I can't remember everyone, but But so Rob was like on commercials. In any case, I got Rob to meet with Joel because he was the hottest thing, at the time in that space. And so I became friends with Rob. And when I left Joel, I became Rob's producing partner. And so
cool.
So we like set up a TV series at Fox Animation
What was
when
it
they were
called?
doing the X-Men. It never got on air, but it was called Youngblood. And then we set a feature at a TriStar called Prophet, which was based on one of Rob's. Rob had a comic book at Amblin called Dooms 4, which was his really cool. But so I was doing that, and then also Rob, because he couldn't really pay me. He paid me some money to be an executive, but he couldn't pay me that much. He let me write comic books, and then paid me like these great page rates to make up for it.
My God.
And now I'm writing comic books with these amazing artists.
What
and
were you writing? What kind of comic books were you writing?
I wrote Chapel, which was one of the characters that was in Youngblood, who was awesome. And he was in Spawn. He's the guy that he kills Al. I forgot the guy's name. Al Simmons, and helps create Spawn.
Very cool.
But so then I wrote comic books for Rob, but. in any case, at the time, Rob's main focus was comic books because he would make tons of money on a comic book a month. And this was back when comic books would sell millions of copies.
Oh, yeah.
Every month.
Yeah.
And so when we would set up a feature, it would take months to negotiate deals. So Rob wasn't really seeing money for a long time, and it was a fraction of what he was getting as a creator and owner.
Yeah.
But in any case, so that thing drifted along, and then that same guy, Lloyd Segan, who I mentioned before to you guys, who helped get me the job with Michael Levy, I was still friends, and he said, there's this guy, Michael DeLuca at New Line, who's looking for someone like you, an executive that loves comic books, sci-fi, horror. You should meet him. And when I worked for Joel, the studio was really the enemy. You didn't like the studio. They were sooty and not really cool. And so anyway, I went in and I met with Michael DeLuca, and he was like me. We were both in our 20s. He was wearing jeans. He had a Mortal Kombat, stand-up game in his office, comic books, video games. And my interview was, this is very dorky, but my interview with him was basically talking about Spider-Man issue 120 and 121. Spider-Man issue 120 was the death of Gwen Stacy, who was Spider-Man's girlfriend, and Spider-Man issue 121 was the death of the Green Goblin. And back then, when they died,
that was
they
huge.
Died.
Yeah.
It wasn't like now where they come back and...
Yeah, like when Superman died, and you're like, oh, and then 3 months later, like, oh, here's Superman again. You're like,
Here's a new Superman issue, and you're like, what?
But back then, they were like dead.
Yeah.
Or maybe I was just a kid and I didn't realize it.
I remember. I mean, for God's sake, when Superman died in the Doomsday and those, I still have my copies of those, and they're still sealed because I was told that they're going to be worth money. You know what I mean? Like, they're not, of course, they're not.
They
But
lied to you.
Yeah, of course. Just like I had comic book cards, in the cases and stuff. But yeah, that's that was a huge deal. And then nowadays it's like, man.
So you start working at New Line.
Yeah, so then Mike wanted to hire me immediately. I was like, oh, this guy's cool. He's not anything like, he's not a sooty guy. And then I worked there for 5 years. So.
Very cool. And then what was the first project you worked on there?
Yeah.
The first, there were things that they gave, like that were assigned to me. Like Spawn was already in development, so I took over that, and Mortal Kombat 2. But the first thing I guess you would call bringing in was The Wedding Singer.
So cool.
The Wedding Singer was was a pitch that I pursued and brought in. So
how did that go down? Where did that get started?
Well, I remember vividly. It was so. What happens is, to look for projects as an executive, you have to call agents and ask for, you're going out with a project. Can you read something? Whatever. And I remember I was calling this agent who covered New Line, because what would happen is agents would cover studios and make sure you knew what was coming out. Sure. And this agent, Adam Cantor, he was at CA. He represented Tim Hurley. He was a writer who wrote Happy Gilmore with Sandler. And they said they had this new project. And I was like, oh, great. And then I went to DeLuca, and DeLuca was like, yes, I wanted to do Happy Gilmore. I couldn't get it, blah, 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 get us this project. So I kept calling Adam Cantor saying, I want to hear this pitch, because we knew that they had a pitch for The Wedding Singer. It wasn't called that. I don't remember what it was called. And so then I also knew that Adam Sandler's agent was this guy, Adam Vennett at CAA. So you have to pursue, because your passion gets them to come to you before other people.
Yeah.
And so I remember I kept pursuing, and they were having the premiere of Happy Gilmore at Universal, and Adam Cantor's office called the day of the premiere and said, we got you 2 tickets to the premiere. And my ex-wife and I raced up to the movie. We were in the front row, and I remember I was in the front row sitting like Rob Schneider was a few seats down, and just fucking laughed from beginning to end of Happy Gilmore. And then after went to the party, and then the agent introduced me to Tim Hurley. I never got to meet Sandler that night.
Were you at like nervously looking over at Sandler, and then you look over Rob Schneider, and he goes, "You can do it." That should be the story. I don't know if that's it.
That's it.
That's the story.
Really
it's a good
call.
story.
That was great.
But and then I remember I left. So I never met Sandler that night, and I never saw Adam Vennett, Sandler's agent. But at midnight, I called CAA and left a message on Adam Vannett's voicemail saying, I love the movie, blah, 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 blah. And I gave my impassioned thing, how we have to hear it. And then the next day, they went and pitched The Wedding Singer to Universal, who had done Happy Gilmore, and then they came and pitched it to my boss, Michael DeLuca, and I. And Sandler came in and they pitched us it was actually, The Wedding Singer was a wedding singer whose same concept. He's jilted at the altar, but he's a wedding singer on a cruise ship.
Oh.
And on the cruise ship, he realizes the wedding he's about to perform at is Julia Guglia's wedding. He didn't realize that. And ultimately, it changed around clearly from to the finish thing.
Sure.
But then, so he pitched it to us in a room, and we bought it. And so then
Now, when you say you bought it, was it? Did you say in the room, we want to do this movie, we're going to do it, and
We're gonna do
gonna
it.
buy it?
Yep.
Wow.
And then we just start immediately negotiating. When I say we, are business affairs people with CAA and Sandler's
All
lawyer.
the lawyers do their lawyer stuff.
And then figure it out.
Were you guys so like? I know I don't want this to come off disrespectful in any possible way, but like if Sandler came in, if I was running a studio and Sandler came in and was like, I want to do a movie and it's about a dog that eats balloons, I'd be like, I'm in. Like, because it's Sandler, I would be
But at
super
that
in.
time,
But at that time,
was
he at that
Sandler.
level yet
No.
where you were like, oh my God, whatever he pitches,
because
we're
he'd just done
in?
Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore, and that's
Exactly.
it, right?
That was it. He had done Billy Madison,
Wow.
Happy Gilmore, and DeLuca was upset that he lost Happy Gilmore because he wanted, I don't remember the exact story, but he loved the script. He always loved Sandler and Billy Madison and on SNL.
Right.
And so he wanted to make it, and I believe there was, Universal made it, but there was a moment where Universal was balking, I think, and DeLuca said, I'll greenlight it for whatever money, and then they, ultimately, it got Universal to step up and greenlight it.
God.
And so he always loved Sandler. So when we heard the pitch, it was like, and Sandler intentionally came in and said, look, I've done Billy Madison, I've done Happy Gilmore. They're, goofy comedies. I want to take it to the next level. I want to do something more realistic and still with my humor, but like beyond me playing that guy.
That's such a heartwarming movie too.
Yeah.
Look, I've seen every single Adam Sandler movie that was in the theater. I've seen it in the theater. Every single one.
You even made
Including,
me go see Jack and Jill.
I even made him go see Jack and Jill, and I made him go see Bucky Larson.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
like I've
nice.
taken,
Nick Schwartz,
I've made it a thing to go see every produced Sandler movie in the theater, whether he's in it or it's just something that he's working on, because I love Adam Sandler, and even when it's bad or ridiculous, it's still great. Like I still love it. It's
Bucky
still
Larson wasn't great.
Yeah, well, Bucky Larson was a hard one.
Maybe
but,
you didn't get it, man.
There was one laugh in Bucky Larson delivered by Kevin Nealon.
Yeah,
When he came in and yelled at him.
you know
That was
what?
it.
Swartzen is
was hard.
He's great, though, as
Swartzen's
Bucky. He's
amazing.
such a
We
wacky
love Nick
character.
Swartzen.
Yeah.
Swartzen's done our live show, and he was great, and he's such a great guy. But that movie
that was a
is
rough
not
movie.
good.
Yeah, but he knows that too. That's okay though. But yeah, that must have been insane. Once you guys had him, and once he was on board, what happened next? How did that work out?
Well, then Tim was going to write it with him, and then we just started, they started writing the script. And but what was great is I remember we got the first draft, which was still on the cruise ship, and I can't remember why we thought that we got it off the cruise ship and made him, be a wedding singer in his town, but it was amazing because it was also very new to me at the time. Like I worked for Joel. I was an assistant basically before New Line.
Wow.
And I would go to Sandler's house when they were writing the script and read pages, and it was all very collaborative because we were like, we weren't kids because we were just kids trying to make something fun.
How old were you around this time? Do you mind saying?
No, 90. I would have been 25, 65. Yeah, 25.
What was his
Am I doing right?
what was his house like at that time? Because now it's just
Well,
like
it's
like a military complex. Now.
He rented a place. It was him and I think Alan Covert and Jack Giraputo was a producing partner, and there was one other person. And they were renting. He was renting this house up in Bel Air on Ferrari, and I have to say, one of the craziest parties I ever went to was at the house, and it was hysterical because it was everybody you could imagine, but it was before, like Brad Pitt was there before he blew up, and Jerry Seinfeld was there, and Jennifer Aniston. I mean, and by the way, every comedian you could ever imagine was there. Everyone was there having fun, and Chris Farley had used the downstairs the bathroom on the floor, and it was shag carpeting, and then you imagine shag carpeting, couch, bathroom over to whatever. And the toilet, I'm not making this up, overflowed. And the toilet was overflowing into the downstairs. It was crazy.
God.
And everyone's just trashed. And I remember I was out by the pool and I was just lying on a lounge chair. And I was just but
That sounds great.
it was fun.
That's so great. That's
It's a long
amazing.
time ago.
Did you ever meet Farley outside of that?
Yeah, I met him once or twice with Sandler.
Wow.
Can I ask
It was very
you,
funny.
Since you're coming from comic books and horror movies and loving all these things, but the first thing it sounds like that you really like was your own was this comedy like this. Are you coming from it of like, all right, whatever's funny, that's what I want to be in this, or are you coming at it from the producer who's like, well, we need this to be made, so here's how we have to adjust?
Well, again, I didn't know what it was like to be an executive, so I didn't know, like, when Michael hired me to do sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, that I just was looking for projects I liked. So, like, when I heard, I was a big fan of Sandler and loved comedy, so that's a funny idea, so let's pursue it. Or American History X. I mean, clearly, I'm the guy, at New Line I mentioned Mortal Kombat 2, Spawn, Wedding Singer, Dark City, Final Destination, though that was after American History X. But I was doing all the horror and comic book stuff.
Yeah.
And then I read, which I still remember reading, my ex-wife and I were living in an apartment, and this sounds so dorky, but it had, it was, where you had to go to a laundry room to do stuff. Mm-hmm. And so we had just got an upright washer, laundry, whatever, dryer, what are they called? Laundry, whatever. You guys know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so it was a Friday night, and I had scripts to read, and I was so psyched that I didn't have to run to the fucking laundry room and put quarters in and do laundry. I just stayed in on Friday night. She was out of town and did laundry. And I was like, this is awesome. I don't have to leave the apartment. I do laundry.
So great.
And I'm reading scripts. And also a funny thing that night was, so my friend Marty Bowen, who was an assistant to an agent at UTA, he and his buddies rented had this awesome house up on, I think it was Sunset Plaza. And he called me that day and he goes, dude, we're shooting this movie with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau. Do you want to Swingers? Do you want to come be an extra? There's going to be a lot of chicks and alcohol. And do you want to be an extra? And I'm like, no, I'm going to hang out tonight and read. But I didn't know what it was.
You didn't know.
I didn't know I could have been in Swingers.
Because they
Oh
weren't
my
those guys.
God.